Hello, YouTubers. Joe Kersey here on Sunday, March 24th, 2019 at 14:25 in the afternoon, Eastern Daylight Time. God blesses everyone. Well, actually, I read in church this morning, and as you know, some days that's kind of rocky, and some days it's not. Today was one of the non-rocky days. I was able to stay asleep till 4 before I got up and, sort of went into the self-preservation routine of taking medicines and things and getting cleaned up and so forth, and trying not to fall down. So anyway, I got up, went up to church and read. It's amazing. I've been trying to get up there later and later and later and later and later. The service starts at 8. Realistically, you need to get there about 7:25 if you're going to participate, or 7:35 if you're going to participate in the liturgy. Let's say I've been going there since 95. Let's just say in years past, when you arrived at 7:35 on a Sunday morning to do reading at the 8 o'clock service, all the lights were turned on in the nave and sanctuary and chancel area. The front doors were opened, unlocked. Maybe not held open necessarily, because it's certainly not cold weather, but unlocked. I went up there. I arrived there this morning, and I arrived there at 7:35, and I thought, this place looks deserted. I mean, there were no lights. There were no cars out front, and usually there are. I mean, now the rector's out in the middle. When I got around the back, the rector's car was in the parking lot. Okay. It's like nothing. It's like zippo. I haven't got my phone out and checked to be sure it was Sunday. It's like I got my Sunday. Sunday. Okay, so I opened up the church and turned on the lights and got things squared away. And see, I did as I said several weeks back, months back now. I bought my own album. Put that on. I read next week, and then I'll probably take the thing off, be dry cleaned. It's been I don't know. The collar needs to be dry cleaned. I could wash it. I could wash it in my washing machine. I have washed these albums in the washing machine in the past, but it's so much nicer to have it dry cleaned. They can starch it up a bit, all that kind of nonsense. So, all of the physical and logistical things about reading in church on 8 o'clock when you're basically lower quarter of your body is, how shall we say, afflicted with things. Went pretty well. I'm still not sure whether this guy is downloading his sermons from like a podcast, or as our British friends would say in some areas of the country, podcast. I watch a guy that says, I like to do my podcasts, but I haven't been doing them as often. My podcasts. It sounds like he's got a radio voice. He has a radio announcer's voice. He does. I mean, he can't help it. It's interesting. When he when he's doing the liturgy, like the Eucharist and the other stuff, he doesn't sound like he's got a radio announcer's voice. But when he stands up in the pulpit and starts reading this text, and he reads all his stuff, he doesn't do anything ad lib. It's all printed out and read, which is okay. Winston Churchill always tried to read all his speeches. You know, nobody's going to fault Winston Churchill for that. But his voice changes. I mean, it sounds like he's a radio announcer. It makes me think he's imitating somebody he heard read this the first time on the damn internet. That's what I'm suspecting, but I can't say that's true for sure. Okay. All right. There were only 11 of us today, counting Rector David and Penny Rushmore, our acolyte, and myself. It's 8 o'clock, you know. It was nice. I mean, I like that. And it's very intimate, you know. It's very nice. I got a bit Aspergery, as I tend to do sometimes. Particularly when I've been taking these meds for this pain. Unleash your inner Asperger. My son says I'm basically borderline Asperger, and I absolutely agree with him. In Lent, we have a different, we have a Lenten array. We have, you know, a Lenten array of linen, a Lenten array of hangings, a Lenten array of goblets or chalices. I like to call them goblets, you know. It's because I'm a real Protestant, okay. But proper term is chalices. And patens, you know, or as I like to call them, plates, which is actually the synonym in translation for paten, by the way. So we had, it was very nice. Well, I don't know. I mean, I didn't like the style of the goblets, but the chalices. But it was a fired ceramic, matte finish sort of thing with in like sand color, and then like big bowls, and then like painted rims, and then painted rims around the base, which was a nice flared base, stem, round base. And then you had, well, the paten was just like a plate. So he belched you, excuse me, like mad. Sorry about that, guys. And well, somewhere along the line, somebody dropped the plate or the paten, and it broke. And so, okay, so they're using a clear glass plate like we use for receptions at funerals and things. But instead of using the two goblets that still remained, we were using this little single, almost looked like a miniature, it looked like a miniature vase, like a short height vase with a small base up. It was like and it was in a pottery, and it was nice. It was a gray, it was a variegated gray tan, you know, firing. It was very nice. You know, it was kind of a matte. It's like I had a texture too, and the way we do it is he's, you know, obviously he's in back of the altar facing the congregation, and if there's two of us to help, it's like I'm on the side on the be the right side as you face the congregation, and the acolyte proper is on the left side facing the congregation. And and he's he goes through his thing where he's pouring the wine and this and shifting things about, a little drop of water, and it just hit me. This is a different chalice, goblet, and so that's what. And he looked at me and I said, "That's a new goblet." And I grinned. He says, "Yeah." I said, "Okay." It just hit me, and so it occurred to me that this is my Asperger's really broke through on that one. Anyways, it turned out if anybody wants to intink, i.e. stick the bread in the wine and then stick it in their mouth rather than taking a slug of wine. Well, you can't get a slug of wine out of this guy. This guy doesn't put any wine in the goblet. It's virtual communion city with this man. Yeah, so, you can't. It's a small mouth. I mean, a child would get their hand in, like a 3-4-year-old child would get their hand in the mouth of the goblet to put their bread in. But an adult, you've got to almost pour the thing out into their palm when you're presenting the goblet to them. Blood of Christ, the cup of salvation. Well, it's like might be the blood of Christ, but it's like this little tiny hidey hole of salvation in terms of getting your bread in there to get your wine on it. And then of course, if you get like the 4 people that want to take a drink of it, you can't drink. I mean, you can't because there's nothing. It's like a virtual. It's like an imaginary. It's like a video game in a cup without the electronics. I don't understand this because our previous our interim rector it's like he'd fill the thing up. There's no any trouble there. Charles Wilson was sort of intermediate, and you never knew whether it was going to be full, empty, whatever. You never knew with him. So, well, this guy clearly is like, nope, we're going to just pretend. It's like let's have a pretend communion. Well, I don't know. This is at 8:00, and we only had 11 today, and sometimes we have 18, 19. We rarely have more than 23. But I would love to know how full he fills this thing up. At the 10:30 service, where we generally get 60 to 80. All right, enough. Well, it's interesting to me. I'm sure it's not interesting to a lot of people listening to him, but that's the way it is. Well, as I said, he sounds like he's downloaded a lot of this stuff off of the internet, and I'm going to start looking around to see if he does. And obviously, he modifies it a bit. The gospel today was about another one of these fig tree metaphors. Well, fig trees were very big, in the Mideast at that time. And fig trees aren't what we think of as fig trees. There were 2 kinds of trees called fig trees in Scripture at that time. There was what we would call a sycamore tree, or as some people in parts of the south, southern Midwest and the upper South call water maples. Okay, sycamores, and then there's like these little sort of almost like little. They almost look like these potted plants in offices called ficus plants. And indeed, the figs are part of the ficus plant genera or genus. Yeah, or more accurately, you'd say the ficus plants are part of the fig tree. And these aren't trees. They're trees, but they're like big bushes, like cane brakes. That's what it amounts to. So, here's one of the great lines in the Bible, which always never gets read because you do it out of the NRSV version. It says, had a fig tree, and then and this fig tree wasn't producing, and so he says, then he said unto the dresser, the landlord or the owner of the property, behold, these 3 years I come seeking fruit on this fig tree and find none. Well, first of all, 3 years. 3 years was the standard time for a fig tree to mature and produce fruit. Okay. This isn't some magical 7 and 3 and 40 are biblical numbers. No, that's a biological number for fig trees or that type of fig tree. And I find none. Cut it down. Why cumbereth it the ground? Why cumbereth it the ground? And he answering said unto him, Lord, let it alone this year also, till I shall, and this is one of the best phrases in the entire Holy Bible, until I shall dig about it and dung it. Dig it and dung it. Dig about it and dung it. And if it bear fruit, well, and if not, then after that, thou shalt cut it down. Yep. Whatever it was. Failed to produce. Okay. Well, in context of that, he talked about waiting, waiting for things from God and trying to project your ideas onto God. Well, I don't know if he was talking about that or the podcast was talking about that, but it's okay. That's a legitimate thing. All right, I've blown on about that enough. My son might come up and see me tomorrow, or as he added yesterday, maybe tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. Okay, well, one hopes. They've had some of this sickness, this flu stuff, That was the first thing you noticed as a medical student when you went to another hospital. When you started out at Children's Hospital, if you went to Children's, first 9 weeks you're popping into the cans about every 20 minutes to take a shit, because that's either throw up or take a shit. Because then after so this next time you go back about 6 months later, then it's kind of the same thing, but not as bad. And then third time back, you're fine. You get this incredible immunity build up finally. I'm surprised given his because he teaches school, he's around these kids all the time. But none of these kids are allowed to go out and get sick anymore. And so nobody gets sick. And so nobody develops immunity. So they come into the when they get up in school and things, and then they start being sick out and actually infecting others. So it really kind of is counterproductive. All this. Oh well, no, we have to give everybody 80 fucking vaccines. In the first 3 weeks alive. No, just space them out a bit. And there's nobody needs to take some of these things. Yeah, diphtheria and tetanus, yeah, sure, obviously. Um, polio, yeah, smallpox. Well, they don't give you smallpox anymore, but they ought to. Um, what else? Let's see, I got diphtheria, tetanus, smallpox. Um, I didn't get whooping cough because there wasn't a whooping cough vaccine then, but it doesn't matter if it did because I had whooping cough when I was 1.5, and I got whooping cough here 4 years ago. Man, I coughed for about 5 weeks, 6 weeks. No, well, 3 months, 5 months really. Uh, what else? Mumps. If you get mumps, you don't need to get vaccine for. In mumps, for the most part, unless you get the encephalitis. Okay. Well, chickenpox. If you get chickenpox when you're older, if you get chickenpox after you're vaccinated and you're older, that is a very serious disease. Get chickenpox when you're young, and that's fine. The argument against doing that is, you're going to get herpes simplex and shingles, or you're going to get shingles, not herpes simplex. You're going to get shingles afterwards. Maybe. I've had shingles once. I took my, what was that drug? Wham! 4 days of that. Rash went away about 36 hours later. When it came up like it was gone. I went to bed without it. In the morning I woke up and said, "What's that? What's that?" I said, "Oh, that's shingles." So I called my friend, Brad Bethel down in North Carolina, internist. I said, "Brad, I've got shingles." It just sprang up. He says, "What do I do?" He said, "Well, here, just take this." And so I went over to Walmart and I wrote myself a prescription and was taking it. Fortunately, I've not gotten any of the post-herpetic pain. Well, some people do get post-herpetic pain, and it can be quite severe sometimes, but not the way the newspapers make it out. But it does happen. I suppose if you get it, then okay. We're talking about. Well, I've actually thought about it would be useful to get vaccinated against rabies. I know a lot of, most veterinarians are vaccinated for rabies, and a lot of animal handlers are vaccinated for rabies, and these pest control guys are vaccinated for rabies. I thought about just getting that anyway. You never know. It's only like about $300. And I shouldn't say that like cavalierly because I'm fortunate, but Okay. Well, let's see. We've got. Well, I think there's a lot. There's a lot of. See, my problem. I have no problem with vaccines per se. I have a problem with the mass. Injecting some kid in his first year of life with all this stuff. Space it out. I had both kinds of polio vaccines. I had both the intramuscular, Salk. Yeah, Salk. And the oral Sabine, which the oral Sabine gave you diarrhea. That was the live vaccine, and the Salk was killed vaccine. When my sister started doing her medical technology course at Ohio State, she had to get several typhoid vaccinations and yellow fever. And boy, she was sick as a dog. Well, that's just part and parcel of getting those vaccines. I don't have a problem with, getting a vaccine that makes you sick if you need it. I have a problem with getting all these things mandated all at once, within the first 18 months of life. Because that just doesn't make sense. It just overwhelms, and particularly when nobody lets their kid roll around and crawl around the dirt in the side yard like they used to when I grew up. You'd be or take the kid out to the barn. You might not put the kid down in the shit in the barn, but in the side yard or the barnyard, yeah, the kid crawl around. It's like, things are very different now. You go in and you have Rachel Ray, or I don't know, that dates me. Then you have one of these horrible View bitch fights going on, and you've got the kid crawling around on the carpet, which is been sterilized. It's like, come on, give the kid a chance to develop an immune system. I can hear them clicking off. They're clicking off. They're clicking off all over the internet. I can hear them clicking off. Ouch. All right, I'll shut up. It's been fun. I need to read in church next Sunday. And then I probably won't read in church again until the last Sunday in April. I'll be interested. See the Columbus school systems. Well, the Catholic school systems decided to follow the Columbus school systems spring break schedule this year, and say when Easter happens, Thomas will get Good Friday and Easter Monday off. So, which is kind of how we did at home when I was growing up. We never had any spring break. We just had Good Friday and then Easter Monday off. That was our spring break, and frankly, we never had a spring break when I was in college either. So, ha ha ha. Well, one makes one fun. One makes one's fun when one can find it. All right, so I'm going to say bye-bye, YouTube. It's 27 minutes. Good Lord. I seem to be fairly consistent anyway. All right, bye-bye.